Welcome back, everyone. We have another Q&A. You can ask us anything related to keto or nutrition. Anything I say is not meant to bypass your medical doctor, give you any cures. Check with them before you implement any of the suggestions that we're going to give you. Let's dive right in, Steve.
We certainly will. Let's start off with Debbie from YouTube. Is reading a 142A dangerous indication for a reading of 142A dangerous indication of vitamin D3 levels?
142A.
Maybe 142. Oh, I'm sorry. Is a level of 142 a dangerous indication for vitamin D levels?
You're talking about, okay, so you're talking about blood levels. I was just trying to see if that's like, yeah. So here's the thing, the data on that, I have to just tell you to check with your doc, because some doctors are freaking out if you have over 60, 70, but to get into a therapeutic range, sometimes you have to get into the hundreds. And so there is data that you shouldn't be over 200. But I think the best thing to do is to go get your blood tested and your urine to make sure there's not extra calcium in there. That's going to be the most important thing, because that's really the only side effect is hypercalcemia. So you have too much calcium in your blood. And if you could check that, that's a better way to know how things are doing, because just by having a certain amount in your blood doesn't really tell you what's going on at the cellular level. There's so many different barriers at the receptor level that you don't really know. So that's my answer, and I'm sticking to it, Steve.
I don't blame you. Well, Dr. Berg, your long history of advocacy for D3 for many causes has been followed by much of medical science. So there's so many videos and so on from mainstream medicine that claim the benefits of D3, or maybe more so the lack of D3 causing issues in people. So they're catching up, but slowly. But anyway.
Well, so since we're on the topic of vitamin D, I just want to add one little thing that I probably won't do a video on this anytime soon, but I recently found out something that I thought I really covered vitamin D extensively, but there's some things that I'm learning recently relating to this thing called phosphorus. If you're consuming too much phosphorus, I'm talking about the kind in sodas, boy, that really messes with your vitamin D levels. So it can really prevent you from absorbing vitamin D, too much phosphorus. Not the phosphorus from the food, but the phosphorus from other things in junk foods and sodas. So that's just another thing to put on your radar. Trying to figure out your vitamin D deficiency. It could be all those sodas you're drinking.
Okay. Let's go to Kathy from YouTube. What's the best way to get rid of fatty cysts on arms and legs, you poor thing?
Now, you have lipoma, which is a fatty kind of a tumor, which I don't think very many people know what's really causing that. It's kind of like the body's trying to encapsulate something to protect it. But if you're talking about a regular cyst, a little bit different, that usually is related to insulin resistance. I know in practice when I would have people coming with these cysts, Baker cysts and different cysts in the body, wow, they just almost 100% of the time they were just doing way too many carbs or even alcohol. So that's what I would focus on first. Now there's also fibrocystic breast, cyst on the ovaries. That is going to be more of an estrogen problem. So the antidote to that is sea kelp or iodine, because that regulates estrogen.
Okay, obvious question here. So gin, I guess, doesn't really have many carbohydrates. Beer certainly does. Does alcohol in general affect your blood sugar? Is it a cause for diabetes?
It sure does. It sure does, because there's a lot of sugar in alcohol, right? Different drinks, beer. But then, of course, then you have hard liquor, which doesn't have any added sugar. So is that better or worse? Well, okay, so it doesn't have the sugar, but what the body has to do to turn that into something that is harmless, that detoxification of alcohol, you start getting all sorts of byproducts that are very, very toxic to your liver. This is why it kills not just liver cells, but brain cells as well. So it might not directly spike your sugar, but it'll just kill the rest of your body. Other than that, it's totally fine.
Wow. So you may not have terrible type 2 diabetes, but you die. So that's
Right.
awful. All right.
Of a
Okay,
good
Lynn
cause.
from Facebook now. Let's go to Facebook. My vitamin D supplements contain corn and soybean. Isn't that bad for us? Should I get another brand?
Yeah, it's amazing what they sneak in these ingredients, especially some of the large company. You have to realize even the supplement business as a whole, a lot of it's controlled by big pharma and chemical companies. In fact, the chemical companies make a lot of the raw products for the synthetics. So that's like a huge portion of vitamins owned by big pharma and chemical companies. And they're not looking for quality. They're just putting a bunch of fillers in there, and they stick that in there thinking that you won't ever find out. Maltodextrin, soy products, they put the cheapest stuff in there. I mean, and added things as well. I mean, if you just take, I won't even show you the label on this, but this is a multivitamin, right? This is a multivitamin. This does, I think, if I'm not mistaken, $4 billion a year. It's one of the top sellers, and it's heavy. It's heavier than other products. Why? Because the first ingredient is calcium carbonate. That's limestone. That's a rock. Why are they putting that in here? And why are they putting it as the first ingredient? Because that's pretty much the majority of this product is calcium carbonate. Like you never want to take a supplement with calcium because calcium is, you don't lose a lot of it. You don't need as much. And then you're going to need a lot of magnesium to control that calcium. So what you're doing is you're increasing your risk for all sorts of other issues when you're taking limestone as a supplement. And then you think you're getting this great, yeah, I disagree.
Wow. And the bottle looks very modern, and I could be fooled just by that. I'm such a sucker for that sort of stuff. And heavy, I think, oh boy, it's got more active ingredients. Indeed, it does. All right.
Yeah, just use it as a paperweight type thing.
Exactly. Hey Lou, 1234 from Rumble. Now we're hearing from Rumble. I often use heavy whipped cream and cream cheese in my cooking while doing healthy keto. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's actually better because there's more fat, and the keto is all about lowering your carb. But when you add more fat, that's a good thing, especially the saturated fats, which goes against mainstream. But that's then it's true because almost 100% of the time they're wrong. But it takes 90 years to find out. Like all this like generally recognized as safe. It's like the industry gets to do their own studies and regulate their own safety. I'm like, what? So in other words, there's a lot of, shall we say, corruption going on in the area of health and vitamins and food.
All right, very good. This is DB from Rumble. I do Ketap. Now, that's what Terry wrote, and I like to tease him because he's such a perfect grammarian and has all sorts of degrees and does speak very well. But he spelled it Ketp. So I'm sorry, I just had to get you on that. I know what you mean. I do keto, and I eat 2 meals a day. I have been taking your liquid probiotics before I go to bed. But is that breaking my fast? Or because my insulin resistance, should I be taking it with my first meal?
No, it's not going to. We're not dealing with hardly any carbohydrates at all because the microbes have eaten a little bit of that molasses or all of it. So no, you're not dealing with carbs, and plus you're taking such a small amount. And the advantage of taking the liquid probiotic before bed is that that's when I take it. It has a chance to really kind of work in your body while you're sleeping and go right through the stomach and not be affected by the acid. That's cool. And then it goes in there to repopulate and do its magic further down the digestive tract.
All right, very good. Well, today, believe it or not, it's like the eclipse of the sun. We have all true, false questions. And that means you have 50% chance of appearing smart. So that's a really exciting benefit for the show today. And here's the first question, Doc.
Okay, true or false? Obese people have a higher risk of heart attacks than non-obese people.
I know what I'd guess. Okay, let's move on to, let's see, Labaka 26 from Rumble. Is there any difference between vitamin D capsules and gels?
I don't know. You have to just look at the ingredients. Sometimes they might put stuff in there. You can get a good quality in gel and also capsule. The main thing is, are they putting hidden maltodextrin or glucose syrup in there? Are they doing that? What else are they putting in there? That's the problem. I had to, I mean, even with my manufacturing company, I had to, he said I was the only one who asked about it. Like, I don't want that in there. So it makes me feel that there's other companies that have it in there. One really simple, great way to know if your vitamins have hidden starch or sugar is simply to put them in some liquid. Okay, just mix them up a little bit and then put a drop of iodine, and that's called the starch test. It should just maintain like a yellow color. If it turns it purple or dark purple, then that's hidden starch. I did a video on it, especially with, they have different like powders that you can mix in there, but it's a good way to detect these hidden sources of sugar that you don't want in your vitamins.
Okay, I think it's reasonable for all of us to be paranoid, and I brought it up before. How do you know you're getting, a adequate, legitimate supplement? And I think it was one of your videos that said if you see the ingredient on it and there's no percentage, then that means they could sprinkle a tiny and ineffective amount on there. But if they list the amount, like 10% of this and 20% are daily requirements, is that better? Or if they just put it's got, stuff, does that make any difference?
I don't think that's the best way to determine, and I think because even in the natural flavorings and different proprietary blends, you can hide certain things in there. So I think the most important is to look at the company, who's behind the company. Is it a very large company where there's no one behind it, just a name? And then just do they have integrity? Have they do they emphasize the things that you want? Because a lot of other companies, like especially with big food and big pharma, if they're running the companies, their track record, they have a track record of criminal fraud, like not just once, many, many different times of creating problems with drugs and fudging things and paying off doctors and all that. So I wouldn't say that's the best credibility to then buy a supplement from that company, because can you really trust them? So I think it's important to know who's selling it and what they stand for and what they do with their ingredients. You can reach out to see where they get their raw materials.
All right, very good. Let's go to Tanya from Facebook. I have a prominence of the biliary and pancreatic ducts and an enlarged spleen. What would you recommend I do to address these conditions of prominence? Did I say all that right? Is that enough info?
Let's just say, Steve, I think what you're saying is they're having a problem with their bile and their gallbladder and the pancreas. I
Yeah.
think that one of the best remedies would be something called TUDCA, which is a type of bile salt that is really fascinating because you want to take it on an empty stomach, maybe 2 in the morning, 2 sometime in the afternoon, and it tends to create an anti-inflammatory effect. It thins the bile. It actually even crosses the blood-brain barrier and actually protects the brain cells. It supports the mitochondria. It's just one of those amazing things that I think for what you have might help. But don't forget, you got to you have to kind of go to the core of the problem, which is your diet. And one of the best foods to consume for the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas is actually salmon or seafood that is fatty fish, because that omega-3 is awesome for the bile release, the bile production, the gallbladder contraction. But people will tell you, like, if you have a gallbladder problem, you have to avoid fats. Well, that's true if you have a stone that's blocking it, and then now you're creating this contraction of the gallbladder, and then it's going to hurt more. And then, of course, then you need the TUDCA would help that more than the actual fat. So if you have something that's obstructing the gallbladder, like release of that little gallbladder, then I wouldn't do a lot of fats. But that's not always the reason why. There's certain things that cause the gallbladder from not being able to contract, like estrogen, birth control pills, HRT, high doses of cortisol, like prednisone. All these things can really interfere with your gallbladder contracting, and then everything kind of stays in there and becomes a problem. So anyway, I'll do a video on that topic soon.
All right, very good. Let's go to answering quiz question number 1, which is a true falser. Obese people have a higher risk of heart attacks than non-obese people. We have an opinion. 55% of our respondents say that it's true. They do have it worse. And 45% say it's just absolutely false.
It's actually false. I was surprised. It's interesting because they've done, like, apparently there's several theories on this, but it's just because someone is overweight does not mean they're at risk for a heart attack. It really has to do with their their diet. Do they have inflammation in the arteries? But think about how many times you've been told, oh my gosh, for heart disease, you just must lose weight. I'm not saying that not losing weight is not a good thing, but the point is that apparently maybe with obesity, they have more of a reserve to kind of deal with more issues. I don't know, but it's interesting that is it's kind of just opposite of what you might think.
All right, very good. Well, to the world audience, we apologize for our technical issues last week, which caused us not to have a show, but we were able to preserve those that were waiting to come on patiently. So in theory, our next guest, Lindsay, has been waiting for 148 hours to come on the show. So we're going to make sure that she gets her chance, and there she is. Go ahead. And if you want to ask more than a 30-second question, you certainly deserve it. But, let's keep it succinct.
No problem. Good morning, Dr. Berg. Just a quick thank you. With your guidance, I lost 213 pounds with healthy keto intermittent fasting, and I reached my goal weight. So my question for you is about broccoli. Broccoli's been my superstar ingredient the past few years. It fills me up, it's delicious, and I don't want to cut back on it, but I get some persistent, distinctive gassiness with broccoli that is not improving over time. So I've tried Beano, it only helps a little. Is there a way I can train my gut to better handle broccoli?
Well, this is my take on broccoli. I like it too. I just can't eat it as well. If I eat it, I get actually stomach pain. And so I've tried different things. I've tried enzymes. I've tried broccoli sprouts. It doesn't seem to work. I think you might cooking it, because what you're dealing with is a little different from me. I think we're dealing just with the microbes and the interaction with microbes on that broccoli. So I think what you might have to do is steam it, cook it, see if that doesn't help, or even ferment it. That would be good. Or try another vegetable like cabbage. Cabbage, especially like different color cabbages, and in the form of fermented cabbage, has a good amount of sulforaphane, because the big thing about broccoli is sulforaphane, which is anti-cancer. It's good for H. pylori. It's good for autism. But guess what? Cabbage has it, and radish has it as well. So maybe you just switch it up to find some vegetables that your microbes are happy with, and they're not going to like produce more gas than needed, because that's going to be uncomfortable, and that could create some other issues. So yeah, I think I would use your digestive symptoms as an indicator to know what to feed you and feed your microbes. So yeah, I would. Yeah, I don't know of another way to eliminate the gas. Yeah.
No problem. Thank you.
Sure, no problem.
Well, I think the world joins us in congratulating you on just a terrific achievement. That's wonderful. And anyway, we appreciate your patience in waiting to come on the air. All right, let's go back to social media, and let me catch up there a little bit. Let's see, Valerie from Rumble, please help me. Help me. My husband is fit and lean. He works out regularly, but has reactive hypoglycemia, constant low sugar levels, and these regular crashes. He's struggling to fix it. Please help us.
Yeah, I had that too. It's actually really a simple problem. What keeps the blood sugar low is higher levels of insulin. So he needs to lower his insulin. How do you do that? Well, you have to go low carb, because carb stimulates the insulin. The thing that would help him too is to replace that carbohydrate with more protein. Protein seems to be a good protein to some degree also increases insulin. So this is why people who do bodybuilding and weight training can still actually activate some of that insulin, but not to the degree that carbs do it. And I think that way your body will be more stabilized with blood sugar. Now, exercise itself does tend to, with some people, affect blood sugars up and down because you have adrenaline that mobilizes, and you have another hormone called glucagon, which mobilizes the stored sugar. So I think what you're dealing with, or your husband, is insulin resistance. So go low carb, add a little more fat, protein, and to stabilize that blood sugar so the reactive hypoglycemia doesn't occur anymore. Versus what conventional does is to keep a little candy in your pocket, and then as soon as the blood sugar goes down, have something sweet. That's like the worst thing in the world, because all you're doing is you're just going to temporarily patch it up, but then the insulin's going to come right back and push it down further. So we ought to think about the consequences of what these foods do and look at the whole picture, not in a fractionated way.
All right, very good. Let's go to quiz question number 2 for the day. There it is.
True or false? Your appendix is an evolutionary leftover organ that no longer has a purpose.
That's very sad if true. All right, let's go back to, sort of social media. We want to let everybody know just how popular trying to stay healthy is on a world or global basis. So in doing that, we'd like to say a good day to our viewers joining us today from the UK, Mexico, Canada, the Netherlands, South Africa, Turkey, Indonesia, Albania, Denmark, Ethiopia, New Zealand, Malta, Netherlands, Pakistan, Poland, India, Philippines, Moldova, Brunei, Finland, the Virgin Islands, Brazil, Jordan, American Samoa, Japan, France, Ireland, Vietnam, Belgium, Peru, Australia, Germany, Kurdistan. We've heard from Kurdistan a lot. I'm glad to have you all on board. Israel, Switzerland, Eritrea, Panama, Trinidad and Tobago, Greece, I lost my way here in a second, Romania, Curacao, Terry, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, Bangladesh, the Dominican Republic, Turkey, Ghana, Portugal, Jamaica, Hong Kong, Slovenia, along with today Sweden, Hungary, Tanzania, and all across these United States. So thank you, world, for joining us in our cumulative, collective, pursuit of great health. Let's go to Trish Ann from Rumble. I've been doing Healthy Keto for a month and a half and doing a longer fast on Mondays. My problem is chronic loose stools. No matter what I try, it won't stop. Any suggestions?
Yeah, that when you bridges over into diarrhea, that can be a really big problem, because then you lose a lot of electrolytes. I think, the way that I would address it is to, when did it start? Did it start when you started keto? What was the big change that occurred? Did you alter your fiber? Because in some of the older books that I have, I'm recommending a lot of fiber. Some people actually have more diarrhea with more fiber. Some people have less. So I think I would make some adjustments with the fiber. Either maybe to go, if you have no fiber now, then try a little sauerkraut and see if it doesn't help. But really, we're dealing with more than the fiber. We're dealing with the microbes. So there's the shift of what you ate before and what you ate now. So we're dealing with the microbes now have to adapt to that. And so you're probably missing certain microbes that are able to form the stool. So I think the best antidote would be to take a really high quality probiotic with probiotic foods like kefir, like that yogurt that I recommend, L-Reuteri. You can look that up. And then kimchi, maybe sauerkraut, maybe some cheese, raw cheese. And as far as the fiber goes, sometimes to kind of get the stool back where it needs to be, I recommend like blending plain whole fat kefir, grass-fed cows or sheep, with blackberries, frozen blackberries, organic. Blend that in there. That way you get the fiber from the blackberries. That seems to be something I've tried. I always go back to. It works good, and play around with that. But Yeah, I think that needs to be handled. And the last thing I'm going to say about that, if you're taking a product, a bile salt, a gallbladder support formula, even mine or another one, and you have loose stools, that means you probably don't need bile, because too much bile will create loose stools or even, diarrhea sometimes. So not enough bile will be constipation. So that's another factor to look at, bile salts.
All right, very good. By the way, Damien, we see you there. So you popped onto the show later. Don't worry, we're gonna get to you. So be positive in that regard. And Damien, here's maybe you can answer quiz question number 2, like the rest of the audience, or maybe you did. And it asks, true, false. Your appendix is an evolutionary leftover organ that no longer has any purpose. And again, for some reason, that makes me sad. The audience, 72% of them say it's false. It does have a purpose in life. 28% say, it's out of here.
Okay, so it does have a purpose. It's not an accident. They found that the appendix serves as a reservoir for good bacteria. So if you do have loose stools or diarrhea, or you had some type of insult where you destroyed or lost your good bacteria, guess what? The appendix is a backup. It comes in there, it releases this bacteria, it reseeds the colon, which is fascinating. So that's why we have it. That's why you need it. And so people that remove it now don't have that reservoir anymore. So anyway, then they're going to have to reseed it with actual probiotics.
All right, very good. Let's go back to our wonderful guests. And this time we're going to speak with Dale from Tucson, Arizona. Dale, go ahead with your question for Dr. Berg.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Berg, for having me. I really appreciate it. It's really hard to do just one question. Given that I have so much going on, including but not limited to chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, IBS-C, on and on and on I can go. I probably have fatty liver. I saw your video on the feet, and I have pain and burning on the bottom of my feet that nobody's been able to answer why. So my question for you is, I have all this stuff. I've been trying to do intermittent fasting, and I've gained weight since I've started doing that, and doing the keto diet. What should I do?
Yeah, I think with something like that, it's hard to, we don't know if it's like one thing causing all of that or there's multiple things. So we'd want to just kind of try to strip off these problems in layers. And let's just take the burning in the feet, right? That's a classic liver issue. So then, okay, what are you eating the healthy version of keto?
Yes.
Okay, great. And then probably you want to support that with something like TUDCA. TUDCA is just a wonderful thing for the liver. And it's a very specific bile salt that can also reduce symptoms of fibromyalgia. But I think do you have fibromyalgia just on the right side of your body or all over?
All over. And I believe I've had it since I was about 12, but didn't know it till I was about 25. That's when the pain of it started. But that was also after I found ticks on my body. So who knows?
Thank you. That's a huge clue, because I was gonna ask you, yeah, when did it start? What happened just before that? That's the big clue. Let's say you have, did you get checked for Lyme? Lyme?
That was 1972. Nobody knew anything.
Right.
And I lived in a small town in California. I was out in the woods, and
have you got checked recently for Lyme? Oh, okay.
No, not recently. Years ago, and I had a doctor that said I probably had chronic Lyme, but it wasn't treatable.
Right. So this is, I think that makes the most obvious sense, especially if you have fatigue and fibromyalgia. Because one of the things that Lyme does that is very wild is it has the potential to downgrade your vitamin D receptors by 80x, which means it just shuts down your vitamin D. So if you're not taking high doses, like, you're probably not going to feel very much effect. And then what you want to do is get rid of inflammation, right? So you need high doses of vitamin D3 also for your immune system to be able to fight this thing off, parallel with a good amount of magnesium. Both of those together would be really important. So that's one thing. It sounds like you need to do a Lyme protocol. I have videos on that, but that's kind of a slow improvement with trying to work on your immune system, trying to take like natural antibiotics versus the other ones, like garlic and onions and things like that. And there's a whole bunch of things that you can do, but you got to do it really slowly because it can detoxify you. So I would kind of like start with that, but I would just start with one thing at a time. High doses of vitamin D3 first with magnesium, see what that does. Okay. And then you can start adding things to that. But one last thing about this whole Lyme, sometimes it can create autoimmune. Sometimes it can kind of go in remission and out of remission, depending on your stress level. And that's another little thing in the background that I always look for. If someone's going through chronic stress, wow, it's really hard to fix anything because that stress suppresses the immune system. So as long as you are stress-free and you get a lot of sun and eat healthy, I would just add these other things and they should work in theory. So let us know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for
You're
a
welcome.
great call, and we're all pulling for you. Dale, and let's move on to, let's see, quiz question number 3. And Dale, get your antenna up. This is for you too. And there it is, Doc.
Okay, a gallstone is a disease, and the only treatment is the removal of the gallbladder.
All right, audience, climb on that. And let's see, Doc, how about if we go back to all our wonderful folks on social media, where Marion from YouTube asks, what can I do to lower my cholesterol naturally? These statins are making me sick. You poor guy.
So guess where statins came from? Certain medication came from red yeast rice. So there are natural things out there that have a similar effect, but without the side effects as much. So one is nattokinase, another is red yeast rice. And that's something you could look at as far as a better solution, because statins are so powerful in shutting down the production of cholesterol that you need to make hormones, to make cell membranes, to make bile, to make vitamin D. So without that cholesterol, boy, that comes with a package. And the true data on how effective it is to lower your risk for heart attack, it is so tiny that why would you even do that with all these side effects that come with it? It doesn't make sense to me. So why don't you find something? And this is where the rubber meets the road, is that there are a lot of natural herbal things that on randomized controlled studies show that they work better than drugs, or comparable to drugs, or maybe a little less than drugs with less side effects. But people aren't going to take them because they don't know about them, or they haven't been widely promoted. And I don't know, it's worth a shot to look at that. Why not?
All right, very good. So quiz question number 3, quickly answered, because 100% of the people, after having been asked a gallstone is a disease and the only treatment is removal of a gallbladder, 100% say that's a big fat lie.
I looked at a site. It's a kind of a support site of people who had gallbladder surgeries and it didn't work out for them too well. And it's interesting because they have, I think it's the 6 or 7 lies that doctors keep telling you, or surgeons keep telling you about the gallbladder. And that was one of them. Like, well, the gallbladder is an extra organ. You don't really need it. You're going to be fine. There's not going to be very many complications. It's not very common. If the gallbladder is creating a gallstone, then that's a disease, and then the treatment is removal. So anyway, the informed consent on that needs to be really, people need to know the true benefits and risks, as well as the options. And there's one natural remedy, well, I call it natural, but they call it a drug, that literally is pretty darn effective for gallstones, and that would be bile salts. So yet, gallbladder surgery is one of the most common surgeries worldwide, and a lot of people had the surgery and they have a lot of complications, like permanent complications. I think this boils down to really the understanding of what your gallbladder really is. It's not just a sac that just stores bile. It regulates the amount of bile that's released in the small intestine. So that way you don't get too much or too little. That's like really important. It also concentrates the bile to a factor of 10x. So now we can extract the fat soluble nutrients from your food. Whereas if you didn't have that concentration, then you wouldn't be able to extract omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin A, D, E, K1, K2. So whatever you can to save the gallbladder, unless you absolutely positively need it removed, I would try to do things, alternatives, and there are a ton of them. In fact, I should probably do a video on that, Steve.
All right, very good. Well, let's go to our final guest, and we know nothing about him because he popped in. His name is Damien. Now, I'm sure he's a nice guy. Damien, I want you to get prepared there. I can see your face. Let me cut your audio on, and go ahead with what we'd like is one quick question for Dr. Berg. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I have questions about how much vitamin D is too much vitamin D. I've recently gotten into your channel, gotten into a lot of supplements. I'm feeling a lot better. Sometimes I forget, and, I'm like, oh, everything goes back to normal. Start picking out on bad food and stuff, and then things will happen where it's like, oh, that was a mistake. I got to go back, right? So, how much D is too much vitamin D? And can a hernia mesh cause some type of complications for your liver or kidneys? And also, can a leaky gut cause things like a heart attack or fatty liver, which I might have been diagnosed with a few months ago?
Okay, so let me try to answer some of these questions. How much is too much? I think there's two categories of people with vitamin D. You have people that want to maintain healthy levels, and for that I would do 10,000 a day, unless it's the summer and you're getting a lot of sun. So that's 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 every day. Now, some people will say, well, wait a second. The RDAs are 600 IUs. Why would you recommend 10,000? Because all the research on the 600 is just for bone and calcium metabolism. If you look at the research on the immune system and everything else, you need much higher levels. It's a whole different system. And so I've done videos on that. So yeah, 10,000 would be a maintenance. But then you get people that are trying to have a therapeutic effect, autoimmune diseases, chronic inflammation, glaucoma, depression, high blood pressure. Then you need higher amounts. So that could be 20, 30, 40, up to 50,000 IUs a day. And so then, what's that?
I have a vitamin D deficiency.
Yeah. So then you take more to penetrate through a lot of the barriers that are occurring. Make sure you have magnesium and K2 and zinc. But the point is that then you can go ahead and check your levels. And, some people, I think I like my levels between 90 and 110. That's just me. But I like to have it a little bit more. Some people, if an average person, if you keep it between 60 to 70 to 80, it's like going to be fine. But if you're trying to deal with something like suppressive tumor, for example, then you need in the hundreds. So this is just things to look at and watch my videos more on the details, because there's a lot to think about because you want to get a blood test, you want to check your calcium and all that. And then some people that are really dealing with autoimmune, they need like 100 to 200 to 300,000 IUs a day. Now, but that has to be monitored by a doctor. So anyway, it can go very high. The next question with the leaky gut. Yes, leaky gut can trigger autoimmune. It can trigger heart issues, because now we have the food that bypasses the gut, because it's just a single cell. Just if you have There's just one little single tiny thin paper cell that it can penetrate right into your immune system. Your immune system is like, what the heck is that? And it starts creating antibodies, starts attacking it, creates an immune reaction, creates all sorts of things because it bypassed normal immigration. So, and then you asked the third question that I completely forgot about. What was that?
It was like, if can hernia mesh cause
Oh yeah.
complications to organs over time, or cause infections or things of that nature?
It is a foreign material in the body. Potentially, there's some problems. I'm not the person to ask for that. I would find someone who knows about it. But just like anything that's inserted in the body for a long period of time, the body starts developing biofilms that accumulate on it, and it creates issues with that. But I don't really know for sure. So you have to kind of look into that. Sorry. All right.
As I mentioned, when I got back into the bad diet, I stopped again because it seemed like my urine was almost like the soda root beer I drank. It looked the same color, and I was like, "Oh, I got an issue here."
I think sometimes it's good to have you go off the program to then remind yourself, like, okay, all right, I don't want to do this. And I had to go back and forth until I finally said, you know what? I think it's better if I just stay on this for the rest of my life because I feel better. It's worth it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your question. We sure appreciate that. And, hope you keep watching. And I tell you what, Darren, here's a question for you and the rest of the audience. Go ahead, Doc.
Okay, true or false? Addictions are about chasing that high, that pleasure.
All right. Let's see. That is another great true-false question. So let's go back to social media where Rob and Janet from YouTube want to know, where do you source your citric acid in your electrolytes?
We do not source it from China. I know that. It may be from India. I can confirm that, and maybe we'll have a document put on the website. But yeah, that's a good question because some of the citric acid is made from GMO corn. Yeah, that's right, GMO corn, which could potentially have glyphosate as a residue. But I haven't tested it to tell you for sure.
All right, let's go to Karen from Facebook. Please discuss any treatment option for Afib. Thank you, says Karen.
So Afib, you probably won't find a lot of information on this, but there's some in some of the textbooks and other books on magnesium. So you have to kind of dive into that too. A severe magnesium deficiency can set you up for this arrhythmia issue because if you think about what magnesium does, it regulates calcium. Calcium's all about the contraction, relaxation of muscles, but it's also has to do with also nerve impulses as well. So we need these electrolytes for the muscle and nervous system, and we're dealing with a pacemaker, a rhythm, and we're dealing with atrial fibrillation is a problem with the rhythm of the heart because of mainly of severe long-term chronic magnesium deficiency. So then the question is, how do you correct that? Well, you take higher doses, therapeutic doses of magnesium, get the one that's absorbed the most, magnesium glycinate, not the oxide, because you're only going to absorb 3 to 4%. And then what you do is you take, and let me explain magnesium. Magnesium comes in different forms. So with magnesium glycinate, that's magnesium and glycine together. It's amino acid. And if you connect them, one can create a cool effect. The other one creates a cool effect. But the magnesium, we have to get the magnesium into the body because it's kind of elemental. It's just kind of like this mineral that can't really be transported that well. So you have this thing that comes with it. So when people look at the actual amount of magnesium that you need, not the total combination, but the actual amount that you need, and you think you're getting it from one pill, You're usually not. You really need like several, like could be 3 or 4 or even 5 capsules to get your daily amount. And that's really hard to do. So I take that in a powder myself because I have been chronically deficient in magnesium. So you really want to have the type of magnesium and then the amounts necessary, but not just 400. You might have to do 600 to 1,000 to 1,500 a day over months to get that corrected because our bodies don't actually, they can only absorb so much per day. But you want to make sure you saturate that and really keep it high level over a long period of time because most of that magnesium is not in your blood. It's inside deep in the cells. It's intracellular. Only 1% is in your blood. So you can't even test your blood to really know what's going on in the cell. So it's like high levels of magnesium over a long period of time will greatly help that condition. And it's a fascinating topic because also magnesium is involved with mitral valve prolapse and a lot of other issues related to the heart.
Wow. A lot of stuff going on there. Okay, so quiz question number 4, another true-falser, says addictions are about chasing that high pleasure. I can't imagine what would possess anyone to do such a thing. But they have answers. 55% say that it's true that that happens, and 45% says,
This is an interesting topic, and of course, initially it's about getting that high, but then it shifts to avoiding the crash and avoiding the pain. So if you take a look at any addictions, like people are they're kind of trying to deal with the withdrawals, right? So it's kind of like this pressure, this pain, this uncomfortable thing. So then they have to take it to avoid that. So it becomes avoiding the crash, which is a very interesting, different viewpoint on what's happening. Let's just take, let's take sugar addictions, right? So you're addicted to sugar, and as soon as you take that sugar, and then the blood sugar goes up, feel good, and then it starts going down. So you need more sugar to kind of offset and get rid of that sensation that's very uncomfortable. So and same thing with smoking. Why do people smoke? Because it allows them to breathe better. It allows them to reduce some stress. At least they think it is. So it kind of releases some stress. What is that stress? That stress is that withdrawal, that side effect, that package that comes with it. So I think the solution, at least for sugar and food addictions, would be to fix the fuel, the blood sugars, and really get that straightened out. And then your appetite will go away. Your cravings will disappear. Then it makes it really easy. Now it's just a matter of overcoming the habit of just doing it. But I will say this, the pleasure of a healthy body is much higher than what you can get from any of these addictions. So I'm just throwing that out there. You might want to try that and prove it to yourself. But definitely the feeling of that pleasure of having a healthy body is super high, and it's actually better than the highs you might get from these other things.
Indeed, terrible trap. Here's our final quiz question of the day, Doc.
Okay, true or false? Our body was never designed for 3 meals a day.
Audience, climb on that, as we know you will. And let's go to Leviticus from YouTube. How do people get off of supplements? Are there people that shouldn't be taking supplements? Are people going too crazy with it?
So can you just get all your nutrients, let's just talk nutrients, from your food? It's really hard. Where are you going to get your vitamin D in the winter? Tell me, I don't know. It's hard to even get magnesium. It's hard to get zinc, but you could do it. You could potentially do it, but you're going to have to really be smart about your food and have certain things. But this is why I recommend nutrient-dense foods like grass-fed, grass-finished red meat, organ meats. So there's all these things that you can eat that are super healthy, but for most people, they're always going to be short on different nutrients. So then you need vitamins and minerals and things like that. So this is why, for example, I take a trace mineral because here's the thing, people, you can't base your vitamins just on the RDAs. The RDAs are 100 years old. So even like B1, what is it, 1.2 milligrams? Are you kidding me? For the average person, you think you're going to get enough by 1.2 milligrams? No way. You need more than that. And especially if you're eating any junk food or anything that's pulling stuff out, or creating an increased demand, or if you have an inflammatory condition, or if you exercise a lot, you're going to need more. The more you exercise, the more vitamin C you need. So yes, I think we do need to substitute. And then the problem is how much and how long for. Well, I think there's some basic nutrients that you need to do for a period of time, but then there's a lot of other remedies that help reduce certain symptoms that people take until they can correct the cause of it. So let's just take, for example, erectile dysfunction. People are taking drugs for that. They're taking natural remedies for that. And there's a lot of different ones. But then what is the deeper root cause? So you say, well, it's age. Well, maybe not. Maybe you could take zinc. Maybe you could change your diet. Maybe you can get rid of insulin resistance. That's the root cause. So as you correct that, you're taking the natural supplement to kind of get rid of the symptom, which kind of is just giving you some symptom relief until you can actually correct it. So I think at a certain point, once you correct the cause, insulin resistance is a big one, then you cannot have to take that supplement anymore.
That's encouraging. Okay, let's see. Final quiz question of the day asked, our body was never designed for 3 meals per day. 100% of our respondents say that is correct.
It's true. Isn't it wild, Steve, that somehow we're in this routine, everyone agrees that, okay, let's do 3 meals a day. Like, it's so funny. It's so funny. Especially breakfast, like we just do it. No one's really hungry for breakfast unless your blood sugars are off, but we're just going to start eating. And then all of a sudden now we're hungry if we keep doing that. And because we just keep increasing and decreasing our blood sugars. And then we have the snacks in between, which is amazing. So when someone told me about intermittent fasting, I immediately rejected it, saying, it doesn't make sense. Like, that's not going to do anything. Little did I know how significant and important that was, because when I stopped my breakfast and were able to just have 2 meals a day with no snacks, wow, what amazing transformation happened with me. And then also just not even needing those snacks, because now for the first time in my life, I was actually tapping into another fuel between foods, and that's called fat. Rarely does the average person ever tap into their own fat. And the reason why their appetite does go away when they don't eat, if they get into a ketogenic diet, is because they are eating between meals, and when they're not eating, they're eating their own fat, and it's a much cleaner fuel. And so they're not starving, but their appetite completely 100% goes away after prolonged fast and doing intermittent fasting. It's like, wow, I'm not even hungry. So anyway, that's a good way to lose weight as well if you're trying to do that.
Yeah, Dr. Berg weaned me off that. It's been about 5 years. I'm 50 pounds lighter. I'm happier. I have more energy. And the most important thing I would share with the audience is I do not have some sort of intrinsic discipline. I was addicted. Hershey bars at every 7-Eleven when I went by, just bad. And I have relieved myself of the burden of choice. So my window's 4 hours a day. And after that, I'm not hungry, and that's a miracle, because I have really been terribly addicted to a variety of substances, with food being at the top of the list. So believe it, folks, if you try it, whatever your routine is, but if you don't eat all day long, life will blossom for you, as it has for me. And Dr. Berg, I thank you for that. Now let's go back to social media to wrap up our day. And this is, let's see, DB from Rumble. I'm on 10 of healthy... day 10, of healthy keto and 2 meals a day. Any tips to share about what we just spoke about, hunger and craving after those meals? It's only 10 days.
So the question is, do you still have hunger? Then I would lower the carbs. The way that you really know that it's working is the hunger and appetite goes away and the cravings go away. So that way we converted our body to burning fat. In order to get your body to burn fat and not glucose, you have to lower your carbs and not eat frequently. That's how you do it. And then you can do that to a severe degree and have no carbs, it's called carnivore, and get there faster. And then what happens is like the body is now just running on ketones. It's a cleaner fuel. If you have never tried it, I think you would like it because your brain is much happier. Your mood is much happier. There are social media people out there that do videos on very degrading. They degrade other people. They're critics. They're always kind of reacting to something or criticizing something in their video. I think they really, some of these people have just blood sugar issues. They're kind of highly irritable and they're in that mode. You can kind of see them around their eyes and stuff. But when you actually fix the blood sugars, you become nicer and you become less irritable. You're more tolerant to stress and other people. So you can always tell someone who has blood sugar issues when they just have no patience whatsoever.
Okay, well, how about Erica from Facebook? Could healthy keto or the carnivore diet help resolve chronic venous insufficiency, a new topic these days?
It might, because one of the most damaging thing to your vessels is insulin resistance. And that comes from a lot of carbs and frequent eating, refined foods, creating more inflammation in the arteries and affecting not just the arteries, but the veins as well.
All right, Vire ACH from YouTube. What are your thoughts about using rosemary spray or extracts or shampoo to help reverse hair loss on the scalp or any other remedies?
Try it. There's some data that shows that it can help you. There's some other things too that are really important. One is vitamin D. And I did a video on it, and vitamin D does so many different things for your hair. From many different angles, but also you have zinc is really important for the hair. So I have a lot of videos on this, but the hair needs nutrition. It needs the right fuel. It needs the right hormones. There's a lot of things that could be done, but rosemary oil is one thing that can potentially help.
That's terrific. Let's see, Truth Seeking 12 from Rumble. Is there a way to reduce prostate size naturally so a catheter can be removed for a man in his 90s? Can you help this guy?
I don't know, but I think there's the thing that increases the prostate enlargement is the insulin resistance again, and also estrogen. So yeah, I would go change the diet. I wouldn't snack at night because that keeps the prostate enlarged, and that affects your bladder, and it affects the valves around the bladder. So that's a big issue. You know, some people will say, well, it's too much testosterone. Well, what happens as we get older, the testosterone goes down. So there's data to show that it's more of the estrogen than the testosterone, and definitely in the ratios. So anyway, there's still a lot of mysteries in this area that have to be sorted out, but there's a lot of theories. But we're kind of at that point. You can wait until some study comes out that can finally tell you, or you can just try a few things and see what works for you.
All right, about 10 years ago, I was in an operation. I woke up in the hospital room, and a nurse came in and said, "Would you like me to remove your catheter?" I had no idea I had one. They do all that when you're under. And I thought, this is the first time in my adult life I haven't had to go to the bathroom every 5 minutes. I said, "No way," and just put my arms behind my head and relaxed for 3 or 4 hours, and then reality returned. Anyway, I know that's probably TMI. Let's do a final question.
Thanks for that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for the information.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine? Get the picture. Sudeep from YouTube. What's the ideal diet for a growing teenager?
I think if they haven't abused sugar, I think they can have a little more carb. But the carb I'm talking about is like more berries and stuff like that. Because especially if you're if you're a teenager and you're super athletic and you're in sports, if you go on the diet that I'm on now, which is low carb keto, you are going to be so skinny that might be an issue. So But the problem with what I did is I went way overboard and had so many refined carbs for so long. That wasn't good. That created problems. So I think if you don't have like the grains and all that, and you have maybe some potato, maybe some fruit, and a good quality source of protein and good healthy fats, that might be great for a teenager, unless they're overweight, and in which case cut the carbs down. But especially even younger kids, like sometimes they're so active, you need to give them at least something. But I think fruit might be good for them as far as the carb.
Well, that's a great way to wrap up the week, Doc.
Great. Well, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for some more interesting videos. Have a wonderful weekend.